Ancient life lessons from a wise old man. It was a quiet evening in the countryside when I first met him, a man whose eyes seemed to hold the weight of centuries. His presence commanded attention without a single word. He was an old man, yet there was a timeless vitality about him, as if he had discovered something the rest of us had missed. He invited me to sit beside him under the shade of an ancient tree, and with the soft rustle of leaves above us, he began to speak. His words weren't rushed or rehearsed, but each one carried a resonance that lingered long after he spoke. As he began sharing his wisdom, I couldn't help but think of the mission behind my own journey. My work with practical philosophy centers on uncovering truths like these, insights that not only inspire but also transform lives. Our channel aims to bridge the timeless teachings of figures like this old man with the realities of modern living, offering guidance to those seeking clarity and purpose in a fast-paced world. What follows is the wisdom he shared that evening. Lessons that men often learn too late in life, but that he had lived and embodied with every fiber of his being. His reflections resonated deeply, aligning seamlessly with the mission of practical philosophy. Through our channel, we endeavor to bring such transformative insights to a wider audience, blending ancient wisdom with modern relevance. These timeless lessons are more than just advice. They are a call to introspection, urging us all to live more meaningfully and with greater clarity. His words inspired me not only as a listener but as a storyteller, reinforcing the purpose of why we share these philosophies with the world. The old man began by pointing to the horizon, his gaze steady, as if seeing beyond what was visible to my eyes. Do you see how the sun sets? Slowly, without haste? It never rushes, and yet it accomplishes its journey every day. Life, my boy, is much the same. Rushing will only make you stumble. You must learn to move deliberately, thoughtfully, with intention. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle before continuing, his voice soft yet firm. Time, words, and opportunities, he began again, his tone more reflective, are treasures you can never retrieve. They slip through your fingers if you're not careful, and yet, people waste them as if they were endless. Youth often thinks there is always more time, more chances, but there is no guarantee. Each moment you let slip unvalued is a moment you cannot regain. The old man leaned back and smiled faintly, a bittersweet expression crossing his face. When I was young, I was reckless with my time, careless with my words, and blind to the opportunities that passed me by. I thought there would always be another tomorrow to fix what I had broken or pursue what I had neglected. It was only when I reached the twilight of my life that I realized the folly of my ways. He paused again, looking at me with an intensity that felt almost tangible, as though he were trying to etch his words into my very soul. Time is not something you can control, but you can choose how you spend it. Words, once spoken, can't be unsaid. They carry weight and leave marks, both good and bad. And opportunities, those slippery devils, must be seized the moment they appear. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It rarely comes. Don't live with regret. Choose wisely, act decisively, and speak thoughtfully. Remember this always: the sun never rushes, but it never wastes a single second of its journey. He leaned back and smiled faintly, as if the memories themselves carried both weight and lightness. When I was young, I was reckless with my time, throwing it away as though it were infinite. I spoke without thought, unaware of the lasting scars my words could leave, and I watched countless opportunities drift by, assuming there would always be more. Back then, I believed youth was a limitless resource, a reservoir that could never run dry. But life, as it often does, taught me otherwise. It was only in the twilight of my years, as the sands of time began slipping faster, that I saw the depth of my folly. Regret is a heavy thing to carry, but it is also a teacher, a relentless, unforgiving one. Yet through that burden, I learned to value what is truly precious: the moments we live, the words we share, and the chances we dare to seize. He paused, his gaze unwavering, and I could feel the weight of his reflection. Time is not something you can control, but you can choose how you spend it. It's like the river that flows endlessly forward. You can't hold it back, but you can decide where to cast your net. Words, once spoken, are like arrows loosed from a bow. They cannot be recalled and will strike their mark. For good or ill, opportunities, those fleeting moments of promise, are like rare birds. They appear suddenly and vanish just as quickly if you hesitate. Do not live with regret, for regret is the heaviest burden a man can carry. Choose wisely, act decisively, and speak with the intention to build, not destroy. As I nodded, he leaned forward slightly, his tone becoming more intense, as though each word carried a lesson forged from years of experience. If you ever find yourself overwhelmed with anger or resentment, let me tell you this: it's a battle you'll never win. Anger blinds you. It strips you of reason and clarity, and when you're consumed by it, you lose more of yourself than you could ever take from another. The man who seeks revenge digs two graves, one for his enemy and one for himself. But forgiveness, my boy, is not weakness. It's the ultimate show of strength. To forgive is to free yourself from the chains of bitterness. It is not for the benefit of those who wronged you, but for your own peace and freedom. He leaned back slightly, his eyes searching mine, as if gauging whether the lesson had sunk in. I once carried grudges like stones in my pockets, believing they gave me power. But the truth? They only weighed me down, kept me from moving forward. It took me years to understand that forgiveness was never about condoning the actions of others. It was about releasing myself from their grip. Anger and hatred, they corrode the soul like rust. But forgiveness, that liberates it. It's a gift you give to yourself, a way to reclaim your life from the shadows of pain. He chuckled softly, his laughter carrying the weight of 1,000 untold stories, as if the memories from his past lingered just beneath the surface. There was a time when I held grudges, thinking they gave me power, thinking they fortified me against those who had wronged me. But the truth is, I carried them like stones in my pockets, each one growing heavier with time. They didn't protect me, they imprisoned me, binding me to the very people and moments I wanted to escape. His voice softened, but his words gained an even deeper gravity. It took years for me to understand that letting go wasn't for the other person. It was for me. To forgive is not to excuse or forget. It's to free yourself from the chains of bitterness. Anger and hatred, they corrode the soul, eating away at your joy and peace like rust on iron. But forgiveness, forgiveness is like a cleansing rain. It washes away the grime of resentment and allows you to breathe deeply again. Remember this, my boy, forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. It is not surrender, it is liberation. It is not for them, it is for you. The old man's words flowed effortlessly, weaving lessons that seemed to come from a place of deep reflection. He shifted slightly and looked out at the horizon, his gaze far-reaching, as though he could see beyond the boundaries of time. Peace, he said, almost as a whisper, his voice carrying an almost sacred reverence. It's the most precious thing you can find. But do you know why it is so rare? Because peace doesn't come to those who dwell in the past or worry endlessly about the future. It hides itself from those who let regrets poison their memories or let fear cloud their vision of what might be. He paused, letting the stillness of the evening punctuate his words. If you're depressed, it's because you're stuck in yesterday, replaying moments you cannot change. If you're anxious, it's because you're trapped in tomorrow, chasing shadows that may never come to pass. But peace, he leaned in slightly, his tone soft yet piercing. Peace only resides in the present. It lives in the breath you take now, in the small joys of this moment. If you learn to anchor yourself here, to let go of yesterday and stop fearing what's ahead, you will find that peace has been waiting for you all along. It is not something you find. It is something you create by letting go. Learn to be here. Now, it is the only place where life truly happens. The sky darkened slightly, and the sounds of the evening began to grow louder. He turned back to me with a faint smile. Do you know what separates those who succeed from those who fail? It's not intelligence or talent, it's resilience. Life will knock you down, that's guaranteed. But the question is, will you get back up? A man who chases perfection will always find himself disappointed, but a man who embraces his flaws and continues forward, step by step, will achieve things he never thought possible. He leaned in slightly, his tone growing softer but more intense. And let me tell you something about success. It's not about how much you have or how far you've climbed. Success, true success, is about how deeply you can connect with your own soul. It's measured not by wealth or accolades, but by how content you are when you sit alone with your thoughts, how fulfilled you feel with the life you've built. He paused, as if weighing his next words carefully. I've seen wealthy men who are prisoners of their possessions, their laughter hollow, their hearts heavy with discontent. And I've met poor men who have almost nothing yet radiate a kind of joy that no fortune could ever buy. Why? Because they've learned the secret that so many overlook. Contentment doesn't come from things. It comes from within. It comes from the quiet gratitude of knowing you already have enough. If you're always looking for more, you'll never be satisfied, he continued, his voice steady but rich with meaning. Chasing more is like trying to fill a broken jar. No matter how much you pour in, it will never be enough. But if you pause, if you truly appreciate what you already have, you'll find that you're richer than you ever imagined. Success isn't about climbing a ladder. It's about finding peace with the ground you stand on. I could feel a sense of calm settling over me as he spoke, a kind of serenity that only comes when truth meets the soul. His words were simple, yet they carried a profound truth, like whispers of wisdom carried through time. You know, he added, his voice deepening with conviction, there's a strange paradox in life. The softer you are, the stronger you become. Gentleness is not fragility, it is resilience. Like water, which is soft and flexible but has the power to carve mountains. Gentleness molds life without ever breaking under its weight. He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words settle in the air before continuing. Don't mistake gentleness for weakness. A gentle heart does not mean a submissive one. It means a heart that understands the strength of patience, the courage to remain calm in chaos, and the wisdom to bend rather than break. A gentle heart is an unshakable heart, for it knows that true power lies not in dominating others, but in mastering oneself. The old man's eyes seemed to glimmer with the wisdom of countless lived experiences, as if he had witnessed the victories of gentleness over brute force time and time again. Life, he continued, will often test you with storms and hardships. In those moments, remember that water, with all its softness, never resists the storm. It flows through it, shapes it, and emerges stronger. Be like water, my boy. Adapt, endure, and trust in the strength of gentleness. It will carry you further than you can imagine. He fell silent for a moment, allowing his words to sink in. Then he asked, have you ever chased two rabbits at the same time? I shook my head, unsure of where he was going with this. If you do, he said with a wry smile, you'll catch neither. Focus is the foundation of progress. Decide what truly matters to you, and then pursue it with unwavering dedication. Life demands that we make choices, and with each choice comes sacrifice. Trying to hold on to everything will only leave you with nothing. He paused for a moment, his gaze sharpening as if to emphasize the weight of his next words. Spreading yourself too thin is like trying to build a fire with scattered embers. The flame never catches. But when you concentrate your efforts, when you pour your energy into a single pursuit, that's when you create something meaningful. Focus, my boy, is not just about saying yes to one thing. It's about saying no to everything else that doesn't align with your purpose. The old man's gaze grew distant, as if he was peering into a world only he could see. A world shaped by countless experiences and hard-earned wisdom. I've lived long enough to see the rise and fall of many things, he said, his voice tinged with both weariness and clarity. Power, wealth, fame, they're illusions. My boy, fleeting shadows that vanish as quickly as they appear. They can dazzle the eyes, but they do little to nourish the soul. What truly matters, what endures, is how you treat others and how true you are to yourself. He leaned forward slightly, as if to underline the gravity of his words. Pride, when left unchecked, is the silent destroyer. It creeps in, cloaked in the guise of self-respect, but it blinds you to your own faults, isolates you from those you love, and shatters the opportunities that could have shaped your life for the better. I've seen men lose everything because they could not let go of their pride, friendships, families, even their sense of purpose. He paused, his gaze softening as he turned to the horizon. Stay humble. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about understanding that you are a part of something far greater. It keeps you grounded, keeps you growing. Remember this: the tallest trees are the first to be struck by lightning. The higher you climb, the more you must root yourself in humility, or the fall will be devastating. The evening deepened, and the sky turned shades of amber and crimson, as if nature itself was painting the perfect backdrop for his final words. He looked at me one last time, his gaze steady and filled with quiet assurance. "Life is a journey, not a destination," he began, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had truly lived. "Don't rush through it, thinking that happiness is somewhere waiting at the end. Happiness isn't a finish line you cross. It's found in the steps you take along the way." He paused, letting the silence settle around us like a gentle embrace. "And don't resist its flow," he continued. "Life has its ebbs and flows, its seasons of joy and sorrow. Embrace change, for it is the only constant. It will shape you, refine you, and if you allow it, lead you to places you never thought you'd go." His voice softened, almost as if speaking directly to my soul. "And above all, remember this: happiness isn't found in seeking more possessions, more recognition, more of anything. True happiness lies in appreciating what you already have, in finding beauty in the ordinary, and in becoming who you're truly meant to be. Life isn't about chasing after something you don't have. It's about realizing you already hold everything you need within you." As his words settled over me, I felt a clarity I hadn't known before, a quiet resolve to carry this wisdom forward in my own life. As I left that evening, I carried his words with me. They were not just lessons but a way of living, a reminder that life's greatest wisdom often comes from the quiet, unassuming voices of those who have truly lived. His words still echo in my mind, resonating like the gentle rustle of leaves on a quiet evening. They are not just fleeting memories but a guide, a beacon of clarity I strive to follow every day. In those quiet moments of my life, when decisions weigh heavy and the path forward seems uncertain, I remember his steady voice and the profound truth he shared under that ancient tree. His lessons weren't merely about life. They were about living deeply, authentically, and with intention. As I reflect on his wisdom, I'm reminded of why I created Practical Philosophy. This channel exists to share such timeless insights, not just to inspire, but to help others navigate their own journeys with purpose and meaning. Through his words, I find a renewed sense of responsibility to bring this wisdom to a wider audience. If this story moved you, I invite you to join us on Practical Philosophy, where we explore life's most profound questions and uncover truths that can transform the way we live. Together, let us build a community that values depth, reflection, and growth. And as you go forward in your own journey, remember, the answers you seek are often found not in rushing toward the destination, but in the beauty of each deliberate step you take along the way.